Hey everybody, this is Dan, Urban Farms Manager, and today we're going to talk a little bit about tree pruning, particularly of apple trees, which is our main fruit tree. Best time to do this is in the winter, anytime in the dormant season, but you want to do it after the fall, because if you do any cutting back in the fall, that might stimulate some new growth if you get warm weather, and that new growth might not have the chance to harden off before winter. And that could lead to frost damage, and wounds are also more vulnerable to disease during the growing season when it's warmer and more humid. So you want to do this in like January or February. Tools for the job: you want your pruners, your just typical shears, loppers for cutting larger branches, and if you need to do something high up, you might want a pole pruner, which is just a blade and a pruner attached to a long pole. And whenever you're doing any pruning, the main thing you want to look for is what we call the branch collar. It's a little hard to see, but it's that wrinkled part where a branch meets another branch or the trunk. I'll show you a larger one. So like even that wrinkled part there is called the branch collar. And when you make a cut, you don't want to ever cut into the branch collar. What that has is like a bunch of cells in it. And those cells will kind of regenerate and heal the wound, so you don't want to harm them. So you want to make a cut just above the point where the branch collar flares off, okay? Another thing you want to look for on apple trees is fruiting buds, and that's where the fruit forms, basically. Some of them also form flowers, and you don't want to remove too many of them. They're dark-colored, wrinkled wood that grows off of the main branches. So that looks like it might be a fruiting bud, for instance. On apple trees, they kind of come out in these little spurs, right? That right there. And the little smaller buds, like that one, are your vegetative buds. And those are where the leaves come out. So when you're pruning, you just want to make sure that you're not taking off too many of those fruiting buds. When you're starting to prune an apple tree, the first thing, anytime you prune anything really, is you want to remove dead and diseased branches first. I don't really see too many of those on here, but you want to kind of make your way up the tree and look at these scaffolding branches, which are these long branches that come out at like 45-50 degree angles. Those are the basic structure of your tree, and you want to cut essentially off of those. You want to cut competing branches off. Like anything that's growing inside toward the tree, you want to remove. You want to remove things that are rubbing other branches, things that are growing at strange angles, anywhere where water can collect. And the idea is to improve air circulation and light penetration on that tree. When you remove a branch or a limb, the bud under the cut is going to take over and grow, so you want to cut above outward facing buds, because you want them to be growing out, not in. So what we're going to do now is just take a quick look at some cuts. So for instance, let me grab my pruners. So this one is at a strange angle. It's growing inward toward the tree. So what you do, take your pruner, not cutting all the way at the collar, I'm cutting slightly above it, and just clip it off. This one, right here, is rubbing. So same thing. There were a couple more, right? Like this one right here, you can see is growing inward toward the tree. That's going to create some competition issues. So we're going to pop that one off, right? And we're just going to kind of go through and remove anything like that that's going to cause issues with competition or rubbing. Here's a good one. And it's okay to cut a decent amount off. The old rule is you want to be able to throw a hat through the tree. And over time, you might even want to take off one of the leaders, because this tree, a leader is it's the branch it's the main branch. You can think of it as the main trunk of the apple tree. And it should really only have one. So if you look, this is the main trunk, and it continues, that's the leader. This one has split off into another one, and that can kind of sap the tree of some vitality. So at some point, it will probably be wise to remove that as well. But the basic idea is to just thin out the tree without removing too many fruiting buds, in order to make sure that your light and air can circulate. And those are the basics. See you next time.